Hello and welcome to another video, and today I will be going over the events of August 24th. So there was a lot of news about potential strikes that would be launched today because of the Ukrainian Independence Day that is today and the 6-month anniversary of the beginning of the war. So I will get into all the strikes that have occurred and the limited information that we have. In the Kherson region, there is talk of Russian advances around these two towns over here. This town that I'm circling, I thought it was under Russian control previously, but apparently it's not because Russia is assaulting it now. So I did change it accordingly. The goal of the Russian attack around here is to reach Shiroke, which is on the northern end of this highway. And once they secure this highway, they will have access to a path that leads to Mykolaiv, and this can be a concerted push, firstly from here and then also from the south, where there's fighting near Lupareve. The Russians reported a Ukrainian counterattack in the Inhulets River area. The Marines and the Ukrainian army, they tried to assault these two towns, which were just taken back by the Russians. And the Russians, they say that they suffered 80 casualties and failed to secure a bridgehead. Moving on, there were some explosions heard in the Novakakovka area due to probably HIMARS. Ukraine, they were launching some strikes onto maybe the hydroelectric dam. I don't have really good information on what sort of damage there was incurred over there, although I'm sure that we'll find out more information about that later on. There was also news of this city over here, Tokmak, being struck by Ukrainian forces, and that there were 13 Russian troops killed in this strike, according to the Ukrainian sources, and they say that one self-propelled howitzer was also destroyed in that strike. Now, let's move on to the shelling that has occurred over the past few hours. So there was some heavy shelling of Mykolaiv, of Kryvyi Zaporizhia, Dnipro, and then a whole host of other minor towns along the front lines. In Nikopol, there was also some heavy shelling, and in Makharnets, some airstrikes were also launched. There were many sorties that were sent towards Ukraine into their airspace, and there were some strikes reported and recorded on video over the night. The one that we have the most information on is the one that occurred in the Poltava Oblast in this city called Mirhorod. What's being said is that an airfield was struck, and this is the airfield that would be struck if that's true. And the Ukrainian 831st Tactical Aviation Brigade, they're saying that Russia hit military infrastructure in this area and that they used 4 caliber missiles. There was a video of one of the craters caused by this caliber missile, and it was just in the middle of some road. So I'm not sure if there was a moving object that was attempted to be hit or if there was some military installation, but based on the video, there was no military target in sight. It was just an open patch of land with a paved road. Anyway, there was also some explosions heard in Sumy and very heavy shelling of the Kharkiv area. Specifically, Mala Danilivka was heavily targeted. This suburb over here, and then Derachi, that was also targeted, which it is pretty common. It's another suburb around here. And then Kharkiv itself was also targeted, of course. There haven't been many casualties from these shellings and from these strikes as of yet, probably because a lot of the civilians were sent to bomb shelters because of the curfew in Kharkiv. Um, we'll see what sort of damage was incurred because there really hasn't been any information. The videos get censored. They get blurred out the points where you could use it to geolocate the videos. Anyway, in the Nova Mikhalivka area, there was some news that the 2nd Battalion of the 66th Reserve Brigade suffered some heavy losses, and as a result, they were forced to withdraw from their positions around the city. So this does show that the Ukrainians are willing to expend many men in an effort to maintain the front line around here. And of course, it comes at a cost, but they have been able to maintain it, even though you have battalions that are deserting and suffering many casualties. This is endemic of the entire front line, and we'll see how long the positions around Novomykhailivka hold, because it is sort of getting enveloped from all sides. There were some advances here before a few weeks ago, but then the situation sort of stabilized right outside of the city. Anyway, there's not much news from the Novelske area. In the Avdiivka area, there was footage of TOS-1 strikes, thermobaric weapons being utilized on different ammo depots and military targets in the area. So it is just being eviscerated, different targets around here. And this is the alternative to a head-on assault on the city, which is why we haven't seen any advances around here. It is just being pummeled. This entire area around here is being pummeled every single day, and it is wearing down the resources for the Ukrainians. They can still ship resources to the garrison in here, but it is difficult due to artillery and airstrikes and all of that. So it is a very good way to grind down their defenses, and then once the situation is it presents itself, then perhaps they can assault the city or assault the outskirts and force the Ukrainians out of it. But it's not something that will happen anytime soon. The Ukrainians here are still very heavily entrenched, and they're not going to give up such a heavily entrenched city without any resistance. Now, let's move on to some other news around here. So, in the Bakhmut area, more than half of the 20th Battalion of the 93rd Mechanized Brigade suffered casualties, and this could be killed or wounded, but nonetheless, there have been many casualties incurred, just like in Avdiivka, just like in Novomykhailivka in the Bakhmut area. And the interesting thing about Bakhmut is that there has been no advance into the city, not even the eastern Patricia Lumumbi Street. Wagner did confirm that they have control of this eastern part of the street, though. But again, they haven't really tried to advance. What they're doing is they're using artillery and whatever resources they have available to pinpoint Ukrainian positions in this urban area and strike them. They're striking artillery positions. They're striking perhaps air defense systems. They're striking mortar positions. They're just destroying anything in sight, because this town, this city, all the buildings are being used by Ukraine as cover. Most of the people have evacuated, so it would be very difficult to assault head-on. Just like in Avdiivka, it's just a better idea to wear down the defenders until they reach a point. They're so fragile that at that point you could advance head-on, sort of like Severodonetsk and Lysychansk. Again, no real news from this area of the fighting. Everything is really static around here. So let's move on. In the Barvinkov area, a Ukrainian Su-27 was shot down, and in this entire area of Kharkiv and Donetsk, about 6 Ukrainian drones were shot down in the past day or so. And that's really it in terms of front lines. Today was not an eventful day as of yet, although there is, in Ukraine, there's still like, what, 6 hours left in the day, so something could happen, perhaps. So there's some news that is outside of the front lines. First of all, Biden did announce a new $3 billion aid package to Ukraine, and I couldn't find any like direct points of what weapons will be sent or what equipment will be given to them. But in Reuters, they said that they would this aid package would focus more so on ammo and air defense systems and just like more defensive mechanisms, more so than offensive weaponry. I don't know if that's true, but again, Biden does have a lot of money at his disposal due to the $40 billion authorization. He hasn't utilized all of it. I think he utilized about 10 billion of it, so he could still give out a lot of these aid packages in the coming months. And I don't think it'll have much of a difference, although it can delay Russian advances for some amount of time. There was a rumor circulating that the AFU, they had this leaked document going over their losses and casualties, and the numbers were very concerning, but I am suspicious of them because, first of all, these sort of documents, it's sort of like a silver bullet. It's too good to be true. But also, in this document, it said that the AFU, not just the National Guard and the Territorial Defense Units, only the AFU, suffered 76,000 dead and then 42,000 wounded. So that's pretty weird because you'd expect there to be more wounded than dead. So I am raising suspicions on that because it's an almost ubiquitous law in warfare that there's more wounded than dead. But let's move on. The document also said 7,000 captured and 3,000 missing in action. So those are not good numbers, but again, I am suspicious of them. There were other documents leaked beforehand that showed like over 100,000 losses. I don't have the exact numbers with me, but there's no way to know for sure, especially when you bring in all the National Guard units and territorial defense units. The numbers could be pretty large. But yeah, that's really it for today. Do look out for what happens in terms of air raids and strikes in the next few hours as it becomes nighttime in Russia and Ukraine. And thank you all for watching. So I'll see you later.